It was May 21st, 1992. A U.S. counterintelligence officer, Doug Muchler, sat alone in his Alaskan home watching the evening news on a military base in Alaska. The story? A seismic detonation in China. But what came after was never intended for him to witness. The report stated, shockwaves from the blast reverberated thousands of miles through the earth and uncovered something buried deep beneath the Alaskan tundra. This perfect geometric shape. Larger than Giza. Underground. A pyramid. Within seconds, the story vanished. No replays, no tapes. No one even recalled having broadcast it. But Doug did. And when he unfolded military maps, he spotted the place. With only 4 words recorded, "Not surveyed to date." And he wasn't alone. A veteran engineer swore he worked on the building in the 1950s. A pilot reported roads and airstrips not marked on any maps also. A buried monolith said to be capable of generating enough power to power an entire nation. But if it's real, why can't anybody talk about it? In the farthest reaches of Alaska's wilderness interior, where aircraft vanish and compasses spin, lies one of the most peculiar contemporary myths ever uttered, a pyramid built not by man's hand, but by some long-forgotten thing. Today, we unveil the mystery they tried to keep hidden. The Dark Pyramid of Alaska. Doug Muchler wasn't the kind of man to jump at shadows. He wasn't prone to exaggeration, and he didn't chase rumors. He spent years in U.S. Army counterintelligence, meticulously trained to separate fact from fantasy and rumor from verified intelligence. He had handled sensitive information, misinformation campaigns, psychological operations, and high-level intelligence. So when something didn't add up, he didn't shrug. He investigated. That's what intelligence officers are trained to do. After the strange broadcast about a buried pyramid aired briefly and then disappeared without a trace, Doug didn't panic. He didn't dismiss it. He went to work. He dug into the official records. He combed through archives. He went straight to the most unshakable source of truth maps. Inside the military base's archive, he pulled every topographical survey, geological assessment, satellite image, and classified overlay he could get his hands on. And that's when something clicked in his memory. He found a strange anomaly, a missing patch and a gap. In central Alaska, near the vast wilderness of Denali National Park, was a region blanketed by data except for one carefully outlined zone. This zone wasn't labeled with elevation data or surveyed terrain. No military activity, no geological data, just 4 words in plain black ink. Not surveyed to date. Years before Doug ever heard that broadcast, there was already a man named Marty Johnson who had walked the corridors of something unthinkable. A military engineer brought on board late in the 1950s, Johnson told his son of a base deep beneath the Alaskan ice. He told him of being flown to a humble outpost blindfolded, brought in on an airplane, and lowered down a shaft on an industrial elevator. At the bottom, he said, there was a giant stone pyramid. Not ruins, not a cave, a pyramid. Its sides were smooth, dark, and unlike anything he'd ever known. But still stranger than that, the complex was powered, not with generators, but powered by the pyramid itself. Marty told me his mission was to study the energy output, observe it, maintain it. They were dealing with far more advanced technology than they could wrap their heads around. Some believed the pyramid was not only producing energy, it was drawing it from the earth itself. And by some insiders and researchers, the pyramid's true purpose may have been even more remarkable. A fueling station for unidentified flying objects. A number of sources credited the pyramid's energy production to unexplained aerial activity. UFOs coming in and departing the area, flying over the wilderness, vanishing into thin air. If true, the pyramid wasn't powering the Earth, it was fueling the skies. Doug knew that wasn't a clerical error. Military cartography does not live blank spots. He doesn't forget. If an area isn't mapped, it's not an oversight. It's because it's a dangerous, secret, or someone wants it kept quiet. Then he remembered the news report, the one that talked about a seismic event, a reverberation detected halfway across the world when China tested a nuclear device underground. The seismic waves had bounced off something deep beneath Alaska, something dense, geometrically perfect, something that shouldn't be there, a pyramid, hidden, massive, not eroded by time or shaped by nature, buried at the exact center of the map's blank zone, suspected area of the Dark Pyramid. Doug didn't have evidence in the traditional sense, no photographs, no field reports, but he had the coordinates, and he had a trail of inconsistencies too specific to ignore. He had questions, and nobody would give him answers. Long before Doug uncovered anything, someone else had already been there. Marty Johnson was a seasoned military engineer, quiet, professional, and patriotic. In the 1980s, he was assigned to a top-secret engineering project in Alaska. His orders were vague. His deployment paperwork is even vague. Just a few generic lines. Special assignment, remote station, classified. His son remembered the stories. Marty didn't tell them often, but when he did, it was always late at night, when the television was off and the world was quiet. According to him, he had been flown to an unmarked outpost. There were no commercial flights, no terminals. He was blindfolded for the final leg of the journey. Then, he was escorted underground in what felt like a massive freight elevator. It descended for minutes, not seconds. What he found at the bottom wasn't a missile silo. It wasn't a mine or a storage facility. It was a structure, large, alien in design, a pyramid, enormous, constructed not with rough-hewn stone, but with massive blocks of black material that seemed too smooth, too perfect. The surface didn't reflect light, it absorbed it, like obsidian, but warmer, like it was drinking the energy around it. The air vibrated. There was a hum, low and persistent. Not a sound exactly, but a frequency that made your skin crawl and your teeth ache. Some people got headaches, others had nosebleeds. One man passed out within minutes of standing next to the structure. Marty's role was to monitor, to measure energy flow, to assess electromagnetic output, but no one knew what they were really studying. Some believed it was a machine. Others thought it was a receiver. Some suspected it was both. There were stories about communication, signals picked up that couldn't be traced to any human source. Some believed the pyramid was interacting with something beyond Earth. Then, 2 years in, the operation stopped. Orders came from high up. The base was closed. Staff were scattered to other projects. There were no briefings, no explanations, no paperwork to sign, just silence. Marty never forgot the hum, or the feeling that the structure wasn't dead. The third thread came from Lee Pearson, a Vietnam War veteran. According to him, in the late 1970s, he was temporarily assigned to a classified facility in Alaska. It wasn't on any map. There were no proper coordinates, no call signs, and no public record of the deployment. Lee described the outpost as wrong. There were guards with no insignia, workers who didn't speak, uniforms without name tags. Everyone was compartmentalized, no one talked about what they were doing. And then there was the equipment. Computers were more advanced than anything he'd seen. Gear that didn't match standard issue military models. Years later, his son Bruce became obsessed with the story. He believed his father. He gathered old notes, drawings, and even a faded map his dad once marked. Using this and clues from other sources, he plotted a location near Denali, right in the blank zone. Bruce hired a bush pilot. They flew out over miles of untouched terrain. What they found stunned them. The remains of a crude airstrip reclaimed by the forest. Faint outlines of buildings swallowed by moss. Roads barely visible under layers of soil and pine needles. But their instruments couldn't get a fix. GPS stopped working. Altimeters spun. The pilot, sweating and pale, aborted the flight. He insisted something was wrong with the air itself. Bruce tried to record the trip, but his camera's memory card corrupted. His phone lost all data. Eventually, he sketched out what he saw by hand, as if whatever was buried there didn't want to be seen or remembered. Every thread returned to the same word: energy. It wasn't just that the pyramid existed, it was that it did something. It gave off measurable energy. It behaved like a living machine. Doug Muchler said early research suggested the pyramid could wirelessly transmit electricity. That it didn't need power, it made power. Some claimed it drew energy from the Earth's magnetic field. Others said it used subterranean water channels to create harmonic resonance. A few scientists, speaking anonymously, said they believed the pyramid tapped into what they called zero-point energy. One source claimed the pyramid was once capable of generating enough energy to power all of Canada continuously. And when the military tried to recreate the technology, they failed. These claims aren't without precedent. In Egypt, engineers and researchers have long speculated the Great Pyramid may have served a functional purpose. Its precise geometry, inner chambers, and subterranean channels point to something more advanced than a tomb. If Alaska's pyramid is real, it could be the most advanced energy machine on the planet. Or it could be something else entirely. A device designed to interact not just with the Earth, but with the universe itself. In 2012, journalist Linda Moulton Howe published a series of reports based on Muchler's communications. The story exploded in fringe and alternative science circles, and soon others came forward. Among them were remote viewers. These weren't psychics or channelers. They were trained under military programs. People were taught to access hidden targets through disciplined, extrasensory focus. Several said they had seen the pyramid. Age and their descriptions were eerily similar: dim, metallic corridors, a central chamber that pulsed with warmth. Symbols etched in the walls are curved and unfamiliar, unlike any written human language. And something else: tall, pale, and silent. Observers are simply present. One viewer said the pyramid was a hub, a neutral ground between species. Another claimed it served as a relay station, transmitting and receiving data across vast distances. The skeptics scoffed. But the details matched, over and over. And this energy was not from the Earth. Linda Moulton Howe and a number of reports claim the pyramid energizes or stabilizes craft other than from this planet. It may be one of numerous locations on the planet where non-human technology connects with Earth-based infrastructure. Whatever this was, it wasn't human-made. The pyramid's alleged location sits in the heart of what many researchers and locals call the Alaska Triangle. This is not just wilderness. It's a region defined by high strangeness, an enormous area stretching between Anchorage, Juneau, and Barrow. It has earned a reputation as one of the most mysterious places on Earth. Planes vanish mid-flight. Compasses spin without cause. Entire hiking groups go missing, never to be seen again. By various accounts, the underground complex was not abandoned. It was in use, occupied, by human beings and by beings that were not. Accounts vary. Tall, thin beings with white flesh and extended skulls. Alien but intent. They moved without sound, intentionally. And by various accounts, they were not visitors. They were employees. This was a collaborative effort. Aliens in cooperation with U.S. military scientists, researching the pyramid, observing its operation, and perhaps utilizing it as a center for advanced transport. Descriptions align between various sources, and if true, it would mean something remarkable. The pyramid is not only ancient technology, it's alien technology still functioning and still utilized. Since the early 1980s, over 16,000 people have reportedly vanished within the region's boundaries. That number isn't fiction. It's part of official records, search and rescue logs, and local law enforcement archives. The disappearances span all walks of life. Hikers, hunters, military personnel, entire aircraft, no distress signals, no wreckage, no bodies, nothing. Many locals have their own theories. Some believe in portals, others speak of energy anomalies. Stories of strange lights in the sky have persisted for generations. Glowing orbs, structured craft, and fast-moving flashes that leave no sound or trail. Some even claim to feel vibrations in the ground. Deep, slow pulses, like something breathing beneath the earth. Many believe the pyramid's energy field may be the cause, that it disrupts navigation systems, interferes with electronics, and emits frequencies that disorient humans and animals alike. One theory suggests the pyramid is a kind of protective barrier guarding something ancient, sacred, or dangerous. Another suggests it's a gateway, a doorway to somewhere else. Where? That's the part no one agrees on. But the consensus, even among skeptics, is unsettling. Something is happening in that region that defies conventional explanation. In 2020, a man named Nathan Campbell launched a solo expedition into the interior of Alaska. His mission: to locate the Dark Pyramid. Nathan wasn't a thrill seeker. He was a field researcher, a former geophysicist with a deep interest in ancient energy systems and fringe archaeology. He had studied everything: satellite imagery, seismic data, topographical oddities, and witness testimonies. He went prepared. He had a satellite phone, high-frequency radio, emergency locator beacon, weeks of supplies, and meticulous notes based on Doug Muchler's coordinates. For 5 days, he made contact with his base team. On the 6th day, radio silence, no distress signal, no equipment malfunction. Rescue teams eventually found his camp. The tent was intact, supplies untouched, tools laid out neatly, no sign of animal attack or struggle. His GPS log ended abruptly mid-road. His last journal entry, scribbled hastily in a weathered notebook, said only, "It's real." No further entries, no explanation. Nathan Campbell was never found. There are no seismic records confirming the pyramid. No geological surveys admit its presence. No news station has ever revisited the original broadcast. The military denies everything. They say there's no such structure, no missing data, and no black site. But if that's true, why does the evidence suggest otherwise? Why would so many credible witnesses, engineers, veterans, intelligence officers, and researchers risk their careers and reputations to speak about it? Some say it was Cold War disinformation, a clever psyop to confuse foreign intelligence agencies. Others argue it's simply misidentified natural formations or exaggerated folklore. But even those explanations fall short when compared to the volume and consistency of testimonies. There are other theories: that the pyramid is extraterrestrial, that it predates human civilization, that it is a leftover artifact from a forgotten epoch, perhaps linked to Atlantis, Lemuria, or even civilizations we haven't yet imagined. But one question persists through all the speculation: why hide it? Let's ask the real questions. If it never existed, why go to such lengths to erase the evidence? Why confiscate news tapes? Why seal topographic maps? Why redact coordinates? Why are certain satellite images curiously blurred or missing? Why do people keep disappearing around that region? Who controls the silence? And what exactly are they protecting? In the frozen heart of Alaska, far from roads, cities, and light, something waits. Not carved into the land, but hidden beneath it. A structure, a machine, a mystery so vast it defies explanation. A pyramid that may not be a building at all, but a device. One engineered for a purpose we do not yet understand. If it's real, it means rewriting history, rethinking science, questioning everything we know about energy, consciousness, and life itself. Because stories alone don't make cartographers delete data. Legends don't make GPS fail. Myths don't erase seismic signatures. Something is out there, and it doesn't want to be found. So maybe the real question isn't what the Dark Pyramid is. Maybe it's why it was left behind, and what happens when it wakes up. Subscribe for more mysteries like this, and ask yourself, what else have they buried?